When's your turn?
Okay. All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. First, we'd like to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wore my jeans today in case I have to get out and push.
Yeah.
You'll be the go guy.
I wore my suit so I didn't have to put.
Okay, first of all, we've got the agenda. And
Hi,
there's,
Jeff.
one item I'd like to add to the agenda. It has to do with the septic line coming from Mallard View area. We'll talk about that briefly. Are there any other additions or changes to the agenda?
If there are none, I would move to accept the agenda as presented with that one addition.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with the addition. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We also have the meeting minutes from Monday, March 7th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I see none. I will make a motion to approve them as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the March 7th meeting minutes as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, first on the agenda is case management MCO update.
Hi again, Justin.
Hello, Justin. Apologize for missing last week.
You're all right.
Woke up and I was not in good shape, so
You're fine.
I didn't want to get you guys sick.
We appreciate
Thank you for that.
I've had plenty of those days too, but they were self-induced.
So,
so-
I don't think that's right.
It kind of worked out a little bit, because I was able to get a little more information, and then ended up that we don't have to cover at least one thing today that we were going to. The AmeriHealth Business Associate Agreement that I had sent out a couple weeks ago, I don't know if you guys had time to review it or not, but there was an Exhibit 2 that had a lot of requirements on like security as far as computers and internet. And I had asked them about, what would happen, saying what would happen if we don't get this done by April 1st? And they responded, well, I'm glad you reached out to us because those are under review. Don't worry about it right now. So you don't have to worry about that right now, but it probably will be coming in the next week or two once they review it, because they were very specific things on there. I was able to talk to Carl about those, and he didn't think there was long-term a problem with some of the things that they wanted, but we were definitely going to have to make some changes to our policy, at least at case management. So, but for now, we don't have to do anything with that. All we have is the AmeriGroup information to review today. And this is a letter that is going to need a little bit of background. So I got a call from AmeriGroup on Friday about 9:30. And she called me asking me about our contract status with getting this stuff signed. And of course, I apologize because they knew I was going to try to meet with you guys last Monday. Said I was sick, didn't get it done, sorry. And then they asked me, well, do you realize or do you know that there's a deadline today at 11 o'clock? And I said, well, no, nobody had told me about a deadline at 11. She's like, well, are you aware of the penalty for that? I was not aware of a penalty of that, So she was explaining the different options which are outlaid on this letter here. And I was like, oh, she's like, well, let me read you this letter that's supposed to go out to the case management agency. So she read me this letter.
March 11th.
She read this letter, and I said, oh, did I miss that? I was like, I gotta explain to the Board of Supervisors now that I missed this letter, and, and she said, well, this letter, because I said, did I get it by email or was it sent by mail? Oh, well, the letter wasn't approved to go out yet. And I said,
my goodness.
And then she said,
And then they want
well,
it back by the 11th.
Yeah.
she said it's such an important letter, it was gonna be hand delivered.
Gene. It was sent on the 11th.
Yeah.
Well, she emailed me it later that day, but I don't know, they must have finally approved it to send out, but it wasn't approved to send out yet. And so I'm like, how am I supposed to know this? I mean, you didn't send it out, and So in any case, they have the three options there. Sign it by then. They did talk to their supervisors and said that it will be okay if we get it in today. If we decide to sign it today, there will be no penalty. But basically, it's get it signed by today, no penalty. Get it signed after that, penalty of 10%, so we'd only get paid at 90% of our rate if we don't sign it today. Or the third option is not to sign it at all, and we lose the clients.
And how many consumers do we have?
With the Mara Group, we've checked right now 2. We've actually
I'd
finished.
almost say let them go.
You said it while I was thinking.
We actually finished our calls, and so there's one issue that's going on is that some of our AmeriHealth clients, and this is a state issue, the state signed up some of the AmeriHealth clients for AmeriGroup. So we found that out. One of the provider agencies let us know, because we've been kind of in contact with them. They said, well, did you know these 2 people are with AmeriGroup? And I said, well, no, they wanted to be with AmeriHealth. And the state had signed them up for the wrong one. So the state has been messing that up a little bit and signing some AmeriHealth up for AmeriGroup. So until we can actually go in there on April 1st to confirm everything, we won't know how much of it is not what people wanted. But all but 8 people have the intentions of having AmeriHealth as their managed care organization. So we would only potentially lose 8 clients. 2 of those, I think it was just 2 of them that are AmeriGroup. The rest are United. So yeah, it's a small number we have with them, but then on the flip side, there could be more that we don't know about that were accidentally signed up to AmeriGroup, and then we would lose them on April 1st if we don't sign something. Of course, we would still be able to discuss with them. I shouldn't say lose, I should say we won't get paid for them. We would still be able to have contact with them and help them get on to the right managed care that they initially wanted. But then we'd have to like pick them up almost as a new referral on May 1st, so. But that's just kind of the situation that we've been in with the managed care companies. It's, everything that they do has to be approved by the state, and everything's been kind of delayed. And so then you get situations like this where, you get this letter after the deadline. It's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that.
And essentially, under option 1, by signing the contract, it's saying that you just have to attest that your CMs will attend the trainings.
There's only one training that they're providing, and.
But all 4 of you would have to go.
Yeah,
3
and it's
of you.
webinar, and
3.
I'm doing it tomorrow. Gene's already done it, and then.
Oh, it's a webinar?
Yeah, it's webinar.
Oh,
So we
great.
can just do it from our office.
Okay,
So
that's-
won't-
All 3 of these options say you have to attend that by tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, and that's with all the managed care companies. All of them wanted that's what's being required by the state and CMS, that all the training for case managers have to be done by the 15th.
Okay. And that's doable.
Yeah, that's doable. That's fine.
It seems that we're really being put under a lot of pressure for their lack of management in the first place.
Yes, definitely, because AmeriGroup, we wanted to sign a contract with them 3-4 months ago, and they didn't want anything from us. And now, it's my belief that they received some pressure from the state after that first delay, saying that you guys have to have some continuity there, because what's gonna happen to these clients? And so then all of a sudden, a month ago, you're getting all these, these people contacting you, wanting you to get this stuff signed, like, right now. So,
Well, as much as I'd just soon go along with what you suggested, I don't see any problem with just signing and agreeing.
Yeah.
Have you seen any issues with anything in this letter?
The business associate agreement had some things that we're gonna have to change. And I don't know, being that they're not gonna use this long-term, how strictly they would enforce these with us, but, on the business associate agreement, 8.3 talks about having visitor logs to our office, like, people who would come, we'd have to actually have them sign a visitor log. you know, obviously we've never done that before, and, you know, we have more departments there than just case management, and I don't know how much they would, you know, be agreeable to that. 8.6 talks about having encrypted computers, which we don't have right now. I don't think that would be a problem in the future, but I don't know that we're gonna get that done by April 1st. That's something that we have to work with Carl on doing. And then access reviews, another thing with what Carl would have to do is just make sure that nobody's getting into stuff that they're not supposed to.
Yeah, the last 2 pages of that 6-page business associate agreement had quite a few very detailed requirements.
Yeah, and the AmeriHealth one was a little more detailed and maybe a little more strict than the AmeriGroup one, but yeah, things are laid out, encrypted computers, you know, you don't use your own personal devices for anything, any laptops you use have to be encrypted, that kind of thing. Some of it we're already doing, some of it with passwords and stuff on our computers, we have to have them reset every night, like do a different one every 90 days. If we leave our offices, even if we leave our office to go to the bathroom, even if there's nobody there but us, we need to be locking our computer or pulling our door shut and locking the door or something, so. Some of it's just typical HIPAA stuff, some of it's maybe taking that a little step farther, but that stuff's easy for us to do, and we probably will do it anyway, but, I guess those were the things that kind of stood out to me that, like I say, I don't know that they're gonna be coming to us in 2 months and saying, hey, are you guys doing this? They really haven't been concentrating on us, but I just don't know. The visitor logs is one thing that goes past our department and into somebody, into, you know, general assistance, social work,
VA.
Veterans Affairs. I mean, I don't know what to do with that part. And we can put a visitor log up there and just say, please sign in, and, you know, what happens with it there, I don't know, because really don't.
But you see a lot of places that do have visitor logs anymore.
And that's like for, you know, so if there was somehow a breach of data in our office, then they can go back to those visitor logs and say, okay, this is when the breach was, who's here at that time, and then be able to narrow it down to, you know, a group of people that they could question.
Yeah, it is documentation that you can verify that somebody had actually been there.
Right, yeah.
They seem to really put a lot of emphasis on the HIPAA stuff
Yes.
in that business agreement.
Yeah. And that's, you know.
And they should. I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's stuff that.
We all gotta play by the same rules now, so.
Exactly. They just, you know, they wanna,
I have a problem with
I
that.
can see, you know, like, we're in control of their data, kind of. So they want to make sure, because they don't want to get anything, because they have to be accredited and stuff too. So they want to make sure that we're locked down.
There was one part where it stated that they, at some time, how they would get access to controlled data. Was that all doable, what they had in that part? I didn't,
I think they just want to be able to get access from us if they need it.
yeah.
They may want access to some information. They had talked about wanting us to, you know, if this ever, well, with the mayor group, the business associate, all that stuff would go away in 6 months. So the information is not ours, it's theirs, so that we would have to destroy that. Well, you know, with some of that, our requirements are that we keep information, so, you know, they know that. But I don't think any of that was undoable. If they want something, we can get it to them.
Okay.
Like if they need access, we're gonna be putting all the information into their system, so.
I think the encrypted computers could probably be coming for everybody. You know,
Probably.
Courthouse.
Yeah.
And that was the only session that I missed down at ISAC, but Carl was there. He took it in, so he may have some information.
Carl's recommendation was, you know, he would feel comfortable signing it, but the AmeriHealth one, which was, to me, more strict than the AmeriGroup one. We really went over that one more specifically since we were gonna be using them long-term, so he felt comfortable with that one.
So do I understand that your recommendation is to approve this contract?
I would say yes, because we know that there are some people who have been signed up with the wrong one, that they didn't intentionally sign up for, which would be AmeriGroup, because it's AmeriGroup, AmeriHealth. You know, they kind of messed up on their end, so if anybody gets into the one they didn't want, then we can get them back to the one they want while still being able to serve them.
Okay.
But overall, we're only gonna lose a few clients to AmeriGroup. So, I mean, we can still help those clients if they unintentionally get signed up with AmeriGroup. We would just kind of lose them in a way if we didn't sign a contract, but we could still have contact with them.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to enter into agreement with AmeriGroup, authorizing the chairman to sign the agreement.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to authorize chairperson to go into a contractual agreement with the AmeriGroup. Is there any discussion on that motion? Anything else we missed here, Justin?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
So there's the application, there's 2 places to sign, the business associate agreement, there's 1, and then the memorandum of understanding, there's 1, and they're all marked there.
This is the last one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this will be it for this. I talked in the past about the billing and the claims and that kind of thing like that, so it's possible we may need to sign a contract. ISAC may contract with the company, the clearinghouse. If that happens, we'd have to contract with ISAC. We may be able to get a better rate through them because they can do a more bulk rate than we can, and all the case management agencies would contract with ISAC. Otherwise, we would do it on our own with them, with Change Healthcare is the name of that company. We're still waiting to hear back on if the state system is going to be modified so that we can use that for free. We don't know yet. We just, so April 1st is when they'll start taking control of that, payments and stuff, but we wouldn't bill until May for April, so we got a little bit of time there to figure that out. Of course, we're all hoping that we can just use the same system for free.
Yeah.
That would be nice, less change.
And that would bypass the clearinghouse altogether, wouldn't it?
That is in itself kind of a clearinghouse.
Right.
So it would bypass the one that we'd have to pay for.
The third party?
Yes.
Right. Do you remember what that clearinghouse rate is? Is it 2 or 3%? Do you remember?
Well, you have to, so based on how many claims you run through, there's different tiers.
Oh, it's a graduated? Okay.
And then, so you pick a tier, and then if you go over that tier, then you pay a certain amount per claim, but it's still cheaper than going to the tier higher than that because where our breakdown was. It was going to be probably around between $2,000 and $2,500 a year
Okay.
if we have to use them.
So that would implicate, place a greater emphasis on putting in timely submissions in so you're not stacking them up.
Definitely, yeah. And we bill every month, so.
Gene's still doing that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so that wouldn't be an issue. And CSN, they're modifying CSN, so the actual process won't be different. We'll get a file from CSN and we'll upload that to whoever we need to upload. So the process will be just as fast. And then it's just them submitting the claims back to us, which shouldn't be, well, I don't know about May, the very first one.
Right.
Hopefully they'll be able to get it to us right away, but, you know, we'll see. It should run smoothly though after they get it going.
Sounds good. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
Have a good week.
You too.
Okay. All right, very good. Next on the agenda is Class C liquor license for 4R's Tavern Incorporated, Roselle, Iowa. Everything looked in order there?
I'd make a motion to approve the Class C liquor license for 4Rs.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Class C liquor license for 4R's Tavern, Inc. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried.
Stamp on that.
Sorry, Nancy, I had that ready. You had it ready.
Efficient.
Cool around.
Right here. Got it. But I did it on the 13th or the 12th, so I felt a little funny. Okay, next we have to set a public hearing for D&D Clucking Cornerstone. It's a construction permit application.
Yes, we have two here. I'll start with the Dave Clucky or D&D Clucky. There's going to be a site visit on March 16th at 11 a.m. And what they're proposing is a shallow pit extension to the existing confinement building. So I don't think there's any new construction, is my understanding. It's just an extension of the shallow pit.
Okay.
And
What time was that?
11 a.m.
11?
11 a.m. on March 16th.
Got it.
I'd like to have the hearing for this one at 10 a.m. on March 28th. And the other one, I have not heard when the site visit's going to be yet. Hoping to hear this week sometime, but what they're proposing, it is an increase in animal numbers only, no new construction, and it's already an existing confinement facility. And that's Cornerstone South. It's in section 12 of Richland. The other one's in 22 of Eden.
Section 12 of Richmond.
Yes. And the D&D Clucky is
22.
22 of Eden. And I'd like to have that hearing at 10 a.m. on the 28th as well.
Okay. I don't think we need to take, well, we could set the public hearing date on those. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just need a motion to set that.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for those two sites for March 28th at 10 o'clock.
All right. I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to set the public hearing for D&D Clucky and Cornerstone for 10 a.m. March 28th. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Let's do the payables next. Got a lot of culverts, different sizes in, I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest expenses. I looked through them this weekend, I did not see anything there that stood out to me.
No, me neither.
I do have three that came in after I ran those. One actually was just this morning. It's for secondary roads. Dave will be bringing in the bills when he gets here, but it's 2 truck chassis, I believe.
Oh, we got 3 trucks in.
Yeah, $213,800.
That
No,
doubles
that blew
our
it.
claims, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, he'll be bringing in the invoices when he comes in, but I wanted to at least give you guys the amount since we were gonna be doing bills before he got here.
And how much is it again?
213,000.
So we're adding $213,000 to $258,000 previous claim, right?
213,800.
And the other one here is, in our elevator, there's like a piece of linoleum on the floor, and when they did all that construction work upstairs, they actually caught a corner of it and ripped it. It was a tripping hazard, I would say, so, we had, Mike Lowe's Flooring come in over the weekend and laid a new piece down. So that one's included, and then there's an E911 telephone bill. I'll pass those along too.
I don't know why we're rushing to pay these when they were supposed to get here in February sometime, but that's okay.
I'm not sure. She called and asked if she could put them in because they were gonna.
Yeah, that's all right. Elevator floor.
Did they do the whole floor on the elevator or just?
They did just a piece in the, yeah, they laid a whole new piece.
Whole new piece?
Yeah.
So the whole floor in the elevator's replaced?
As far as that knew, it was original. I mean, I don't think
Yeah,
it's
I'm
ever-
sure.
It was right where everybody walks. You know, they must have just caught where the lip of the thing is and just tore a big chunk out. So that project upstairs cost a little bit more, but that happens.
Yeah.
Well, it must have been coming up, they caught it.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion on the claims here?
Now I'd make a motion to approve the claims with the 3 additions.
I'll second that motion.
All right, the motion has been to approve the claims, including the 3 additional claims. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, then, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. We've got the resolution number 3 here, which is the appointment of Ken Pingree to the position of county sheriff effective March 16th. And this was our recommendation from our sheriff.
I will make a motion that we approve the resolution 2016-003, the appointment of Ken Pingree as county sheriff.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution. It's by roll call vote. Courtney?
Bach?
Yes.
Beardenmore?
Yes.
Shetler?
Yes.
Miners?
Yes.
Danzer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion's
Is
carried.
this another one for signature?
John Worden made a worthwhile comment last Saturday about this. He said, please do not refer to him as the acting sheriff. He is the sheriff. So that's a good point. He's not the acting sheriff. Sheriff.
Okay.
I might have made that mistake. Think about it.
Sure.
There's a new sheriff in town.
New sheriff in town.
Doug's not moved out till tomorrow.
Not out, no. He'll let you know that too, I think. Okay, that's today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and next on the agenda is the resolution number 4, and this is a new requirement. We're also supposed to pass a resolution that approves the salaries which were approved by the compensation board and also by the our budgeting process. So basically, if you see it, it just lists all of our proposed and approved salaries. And I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2016.
So moved.
4. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Carroll County Resolution 2016-004, elected officials' salary. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, then we will vote, and it's again by roll call vote.
Bach?
Yes.
Beardenmore?
Yes.
Shetler?
Yes.
Miners?
Yes.
Danzer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Pass this around for signature.
Okay. Okay, next, I think we'll do this septic thing added to the agenda. John Renzi called the courthouse. Just to give you a little perspective, top of the map is north. This is Mallard View, here's a couple of school systems, and John Renzi owns this ground here. Here's Collison Addition. There's a terrace right about here that he wants to take out, and there's a big manhole there. The reason there's a manhole there is he's done this research, is there's a septic line that's coming from Mallard View and hooks up to the city at 180th Street, yeah, 180th, Highway 30 is 200, okay, at 180th Street. It's also 30th Street, I think, is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so anyhow, this is going down along there, and at, if I got it right about there where I put that circle and where I drew that line on there is where the septic system runs. He would like to take that out, or the terrace out, which he's got the right to do, but the manhole is kind of in his way. John could not have been more cooperative. I just visited with him on the phone. And I also visit with Randy Carroll. Randy Carroll has been out there and he visited, or looked at it, viewed it. This septic line is like 12 foot deep. And that manhole could be removed and lowered under the ground 5 or 6 feet and capped off and GPS for future location. It's a clean out is why it's there. It's never been used. So as far as its value, it's had no historical value. We can't comment on the future value of it.
About time you think you need, it'll be
Huh?
there. About time that you don't think it'll be any value. it will
So,
be.
visiting with Randy and John, they would all be okay with lowering that and capping it off, and then John could do his thing out there with the terrace, whatever he wants to do, and it would be out of his way. Randy was starting to say, well, I think part of it is not quite standard, and a little bit should be changed, and I just suggested, I go, well, Randy, I understand this is outside your jurisdiction, this is not in the city, it's our problem, it's not your problem. Could we ask the city to do this, and we may need to reimburse them for doing it? And he says, sure, that's okay. And I said, well, you understand it, you've been out there, you've done everything. I would suggest that that's how we proceed. So, to give the whole story, John has 2 requests. One is that we do away with this manhole one way or the other, and the other one is he couldn't find anything on record where we have an easement or anything else for this septic line. I guess there's something on record somewhere, but nobody was able to find it, either in the city or in the courthouse. So, the first part, I guess, A, is to, if it's okay with this board, to authorize or ask the city to lower that, cap it off, GPS it. That solves John's problem. And secondly, I think maybe we should visit with the county attorney on the second issue. John suggests for future purpose that we get this recorded somewhere. So if in the future, 20 years from now, even after John may sell off a piece or something, that they know it's there and they don't put a house right on top of it or something like that. Who knows what could happen in the future. So those were his 2 suggestions, and he said, I'll be real easy to get along with, and by his attitude on the phone, he was very, very cooperative. He just wants things handled correctly, and I believe we do too. So, any thoughts?
You would think there would be an easement there someplace.
I would too, and I would guess that there's something recorded, but Courtney, nobody could find anything recorded. And it should be probably recorded in the recorder's office along with the property itself. Was that one place that was looked at or not?
I didn't look. He
Okay.
said they were in the recorder's office.
They couldn't
doing
find
the
it?
research,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, very
I mean,
good.
I would be happy to do more
Okay.
checking, but.
Okay, they couldn't find anything in the recorder's office. So, I think, first I would ask the board how you feel about authorizing the city to take care of the problem in the first place. And then the second step, I think we don't need to act on today, but I think we should do some due diligence and to confirm whether or not there is or is not an easement. We cannot find one, work with our county attorney to get one out there.
Well.
Or to get it recorded
It's in our
anyhow.
best interest to get it recorded, because like you said.
There, you can pass that map around and,
Somebody build on top of that, then we're SOL.
yeah, it's deep, it's like 12 foot deep, but you don't want to be digging a basement down that, you know, that's.
Yeah,
don't
but
wanna
you
cover
don't- You need to repair it.
Yes.
There's no storm sewer that runs on this side. But if it's septic, it probably cuts across.
He said it's about 70 foot out in the field. He's guessing on the distance.
There's definitely
Is
no
that
storm
far out
sewer
there?
in here, but.
Yeah. And I didn't go out and look, I just got all this information this morning, but I certainly can go out and look if you want to delay action, but Randy Carroll looked at it and he found that on the south side of that terrace, the cover and everything.
And since it was in the terrace, it probably hasn't been a problem before, but now that he wants to take the terrace out, it becomes an issue.
Yes, that is correct.
Who is to bear this expense?
I think we will, it's our facility. yes, we could be stubborn and says, too bad, you farm around it. I don't think we want to do that, but that's an option.
Because it serves our facility. I bet it's the
I
only
see
thing
the
that.
bigger issue is
I
getting
bet
it
that's the only
recorded
thing
that
it
way.
serves. I bet it
In
doesn't
time,
serve
that
these
area
guys.
will be developed.
For
There's no
these
ifs, ands, or
guys.
buts about it, so we want it recorded, so it's in the records.
I don't think
And
so.
as far as burying it, that's a good thing and getting a GPS, because you
That's
can always
minor.
cite it and get it back again.
Yeah.
We're
So-
fortunate. He said it's about 12 foot deep, and he said there's plenty of room that we could bury, so the top of the manhole would be like 5 foot deep. That's below any farming practice, I think.
Well, they won't even have to go quite that far.
Even 4 foot, take off 1 or 2 tile, depending on how big the tile is.
So,
I'd guess I'd like to see how much that's gonna cost before I make a decision. I mean, I'm okay with it, but boy, that's gonna be I think that could be a costly,
I really shouldn't.
shouldn't be?
I don't think it'll be
And
astronomical.
I would say if you're just gonna eliminate it and not have anything there, but have it GPSed as a whole, it could probably be a
No,
cheap
no.
deal, but if you're gonna bring it up and have
They
a,
can GPS it with the press of a button and write it down.
I understand that, but, are we gonna make it accessible again? So that,
Well,
with the cover on it and everything like that?
Yeah, yeah.
All you're doing
And
is,
they'll use most of the stuff that's there. All they do is take
Lower
out
it down.
sections.
Oh,
What
take
Randy
out
thought they could
sections?
do is he's
Yeah.
Tyler in sections. He thought
Okay,
they'd
I
have to
gotcha.
knock off 1 or 2 sections,
Dig it
lower
out
the
And
cap.
then lower the lid.
And then they
Okay,
said that you'd
I
have
gotcha.
a different lid on it. So, we're
Probably
gonna,
use the same lid even.
yeah.
he might change that. He said something about the standard of the lid has changed or something, so.
Oh,
What are those
standard.
things, collared?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just a bell housing, they just sit in there.
Okay,
It's just
I
a
see-
concrete.
I see
And
what
he
you're
thought they
saying.
had an used one
Manholes,
around that
everything's-
they could use for it,
Okay,
so.
I gotcha.
Okay.
I thought it'd probably be more extensive than that.
I don't
It's
think
just
it'll be a big
concrete tile.
expense.
Okay.
It'll be under $1,000, I would guess,
Yeah.
for sure, by any stretch of the imagination.
Dig it out with a backhoe, pull up.
How would the board like to proceed on this, given the information?
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and have that, lower that manhole and have the city of Carroll do it, if they're
Okay.
willing to do it.
And then, should we contact the county attorney for establish recording?
I thought maybe you wanted to have them two separate motions, but if you want the same, yeah, and we need to get that.
It can go either way.
If there's not a recorded easement, we need to get one in place.
Okay, all right. All in one motion, Gene has said that we should take care of the issue as far as lowering the manhole, and after due diligence is done for an easement, if one is not there, we should get this recorded.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, that motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion here? Okay, I'll visit with Randy Carroll later today on this and get that part taken care
If
of.
that ever gets developed out, you're gonna have to keep building on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
issue.
it's got to be recorded, and,
Yep.
okay. Well, let's vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, then we will go to manure management. And there's one manure management thing that's Rodney Hitters, Hillside, Section 30, Arcadia Township. He's added acres, changed crop rotation, and using manure analysis. Okay. Put me there. And we need to go to our county attorney on some drain, or secondary roads, our engineer on some drains and do the road tour. We can do committee reports. Gene, why don't you start us today in committee reports? Dean, why don't you start us on committee reports?
I can do that. On Monday night, we had Conservation Board meeting. It began with an update from the FFA, the Coon Rapids Baird chapter of the FFA that are farming the Tegas property. I can pass this around. This is the benefit to them, the young students involved in this. On the back side is the 2016 Conservation Farm budget. Pass that around for review. And, you know, I think it's a really good learning process for these kids. They did a very good job of of giving their report on what they learned. Some of the problems they had in the 2015 growing season. It was soybeans that were wet. There was a wet spring with seepage from the hills, especially in the clay. Was exposed from pond construction. The side hills were wet. They got 39.6 bushels per acre weighed in at the elevator. Tractor and planter were stuck a couple of times trying to get the beans in. Marketing the crop could have sold out of the field for $8.46. Instead, stored so they could learn the process of selling incrementally. So hail affected the crop and learning experience, and we had later harvest due to wet, spotty rains. Led to head loss. Our moisture out of the field was 9%. We would have liked to have gotten it out quicker, but the conditions didn't allow for that. Pass that around too.
Got high expectations there.
I think we had corn and beans mixed up.
I think so too.
Then after that, Ben Wallace was in from the DNR to give an update on the Swan Lake fishery. And it was mostly about the fish kill. The final analysis of what actually happened was dissolved oxygen. And it happened at the same day at Crystal Lake up in northern Iowa. And I think the problem is that the blue-green algae was bloomed, and it basically took all the oxygen. And my question was it from runoff or what was the actual, I want to say the cause of the problem? He thought it was nutrient loading in the lake itself. So they over the past year, then they replaced they restocked the lake with large bass, catfish, bluegills, 300 large bass, 2,500 catfish, 3,000 bluegill, and there were no common carp found in the fish kill, and there were 63 dead grass carp, which was a good thing to have happened. So I think they're going to continue to restock. This was an unusual situation. They wouldn't have restocked until this year, but under the circumstances, they restocked last year. There was an update on there was a discussion about the Sauk Rail Trail by the Sauk Rail Trail Association with Russ Reinecke and Dr. Frank Gredeman concerning a portion of the trail by Maple River that has been addressed before about debris owned by others, and they want to pursue this and get this situation cleaned up this year. It comes back to, I got an email from Jason on it. They were going to talk to our county attorney. The county attorney says it has to go through the Board of Supervisors. So Jason will probably make a presentation at some point in time to pursue that matter. They got a grant to replace the basketball court out at the Swan Lake. They're going to move it from the south side of the road to the north side of the road so it is more accessible. Otherwise, they had kids going across the road, and it's been there a long time, and get it away from the bison pen, because a lot of times I guess the ball goes into the bison pen. There's the community survey, if anyone's seen that. If you haven't, please take the survey. Do the survey. Do we have any copies here in the courthouse?
There's some on our counter.
Are they available online or just?
And they are available online. Service Monkey, Survey Monkey, I think it is.
Is it through the conservation website or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. There was an update on the I Will Day at the Capitol, which basically there's nothing to be said there, because that's not really going anywhere this year. There was a union negotiation update, and I did tell them that we were in closed session that morning. And you'll probably hear more about that. I did not disclose anything. I just said we discussed the situation, so. And that's basically it for the conservation. I did attend the ISAC spring conference. Did go to the Capitol Day, did talk to Representative Best and Senator Siegebart, mostly about still pushing the mental health per capita situation. And I was there about 2 o'clock, and he said there was a committee, they were going to have a committee meeting on it at 4 o'clock that afternoon, which he was going to be involved in. So I could have stuck around, but I didn't want to stick around 2 hours. So I never did find out how that turned out. Neil, have you heard anything on that at all?
No, I did mark in his update of March 10th, said the same thing, that the equalization had its first subcommittee on Wednesday, and it has been approved by the committee, so it was approved.
Okay.
And then he went through saying that 73 counties have a reduction in their per capita, and 8 of the larger counties show an increase in property due to population increase. So something I didn't think, when you're doing on per capita, it changes everything, and their populations changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
The one thing they were saying at that morning at the session at the Wallace Building was that we need to visit with our Farm Bureau, get them on the idea that this is not going to be a big tax increase.
In regards to that, I sent a specific letter to Bill Heckroth asking him who in Farm Bureau to contact, and he did not reply. But
Bill's been kind of tied up this week.
Okay.
His son got married out in D.C.
Okay.
And I have some information here.
Do you have some contact information, Gene?
Well, after we had our executive board meeting, we got some information on it that shows exactly what Carroll County figured, and I'll pass this around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Very good.
And, yeah, Gene and I were there, and the governor gave an update, gave a talk to the supervisors that morning. It was a lot about the the education and
The
water quality.
Save for the future.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about here too.
Okay, I'll let you talk about that then, but, I think there's a lot of sentiment to divorce those issues
Actually,
down
it's
there.
different, that issue. I was talking.
Yeah.
Then at the ISAC meeting on Thursday, I attended a crisis management session. Be prepared, who knows what, and that had to do with a lot, with emergency services, and that was a good session. Then there was a general session in the afternoon. On Friday probably was the best day. I attended a session on Iowa Homeland Security Emergency Management Systems, and for me, personally, it was a good session because I didn't know a lot about that. New on the board, and I hadn't had a good background in that. So I did pick up a lot there, and I learned a lot. Then there was one following that on county supervisor's role in emergency services. They went more into the the expectations of fire departments throughout the counties, and I don't think that's specific to Carroll County, but I think there's a lot of smaller counties who are probably going to have some real issues going forward with basically funding and being able to have their own and have their own fire departments. And then I guess it was before lunch, the contract law enforcement. This was a real interesting one, and this is the one that Sheriff Doug Bass co-chaired with the Sioux County Sheriff. And I'll just say and Doug did a very good job. The Sioux County Sheriff had a PowerPoint presentation, and then they were able to discuss. The thing that I really got out of that was that we're too good to our cities. I think, well, it sure sounded like we require the least amount per capita than probably any other.
No question. No question.
Any other county. So that was a good session, and it was well attended, and Doug did a very good job. And the last one that I attended was on watersheds, and this had to do with, part of it was the Iowa Soybean Association and watersheds that we, not specifically to this area, but the same types of watersheds, and practices that they are pushing, which we're going to hear more about in the future, to help water quality in the future. The other part of it was the WMA, water management agencies, of which there's none around here that I am aware of. Very popular up in the northeast part of the state. And they have mostly and primarily to do with flooding. And they talked about on county roads if you're going to do some work on a county road, you have water that continually goes across these roads and causes major issues, is to build that road up and hold the water back and then let it release. And that, for two reasons: downstream, it wouldn't have as much washout, as much problems with washing out roads, and it would actually, holding the water back, it would help so that water set for water quality issues. So I think it's something that works with. It was interesting. It was an interesting discussion. I hadn't heard it, so I don't know the pros and cons of it, but it was an interesting discussion. And I think that's all I had for ISAC, and that was all for my week.
Okay, what's coming up this week?
This week I have Board of Health meeting tomorrow night, and I think our other one was canceled on Thursday. So,
Next week.
okay.
Gene, we'll do some
Okay.
committee reports.
On Tuesday, went to CADC, and Janet Adie was there to give a report on Western Iowa Advantage, and basically talked about the pros and cons of the Western Iowa Advantage and different targeted industries that we should target towards. And I mean, they go through a whole complex of things that they use to come up with those scenarios. They did also come up with some of the competitive positions for the county, and there's some of that stuff that's kind of interesting, like workforce productivity and work ethic based on employer interviews. Productivity is 4.28 out of a 5, and work ethic is a 4.18 out of 5, which are higher than a lot of other places in around the world. And talked about our competitive labor costs and different things like that. I will pass this around if you just want to take a look at it. Neil was also there at that. I won't get into a lot of that. And then on Wednesday was at the Capitol Day, and there again, I think Dean talked about that quite a bit. But one of the things they were talking about, there was a Safe for the Future, which is using the local school that 1 cent local option sales tax from the schools to also use it for water quality. And they have, what they're looking at is, and it was kind of surprising later that night when we had our executive, how some of them did feel about it. You know, this thing is designed to quit in 2029, and by extending it, they would go out to 2049, so the schools would have that ability to generate that money. And the first 10 million goes to the schools every year anyway, of new increased funding. But they're talking about how they were gonna use federal monies to start out to front fill it, more or less, I would
Right,
say.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that the right word
Be
to
about
say?
$66 million, they
But-
said in the beginning. for the
Yeah,
year.
and what I've got here is this I got after you left, this was on, I think, towards the end of Friday they gave this to me. I have Carroll School District, Coon Rapids Baird School District, and I think it's Glidden Ralston. And it shows the actual estimate from fiscal year 2009 to 2016, what the district's got. The current law forecasts what the money's from 2017 to 2030. And then the save for the future forecast from 2017 to 2030. And then what the current law forecasts from 2031 to 2050, which would be zero. And then what the proposal would be from 2031 to 2000. So it's this one here is for Carroll, if you want to look at it. And Marty's got one there, being drawn on the executive board. You know, most of the day at the Wallace Building was covered by the governor, and there's a different attitude by him this year, and I probably shouldn't say what I want to say, but, you know, he got talking about how good this, now we got this road use tax fund, and we're getting all this money now that it was more of a I thing, and then, but I thought, who was standing in our way the last 3 years before that? So, but it was a political speech. Anyway, I did not go up to the Capitol that day, I went, because my knee was just not able to handle it. And then, as Dean said, we had the sessions at ISAC. I think they were probably some of the better sessions we've had for a while. It just seemed like people were more interested and involved in things. I will say the session we had, that I was co-chaired with Denny Wright on the shared law enforcement, so Denny did the introduction, I did the closing. But I was really, Denny and I were both concerned that they would be able to fill that hour. And there was enough questions asked. And, you know, you're saying we're on the low side, but, you know, what their per capita was up there was way high, and even the guy from Clayton County says, I'd go with your figures more than I would theirs. They're
I
way
think
too
theirs
high.
was
But he was throwing
119,
It's about 10 times.
170
170?
per capita, and they're throwing all the cars, 4 cars and everything. So he's talking about a bigger force, and altogether different protection. You know, we go at will, just kind of scattered drive-through. They're actually spending time in these communities. So so I would say we were looking at from one of the lower ends to the extreme. So it's total
Yeah,
opposites.
and you know, he pointed out Hull, Iowa, which is about 2,500 people, but they've got 3 high schools there.
Right.
And so
So
they
they've
have,
got-
they have 2 deputies that actually live there and stay there. They
They don't go out.
they may go out, you know, on
So that intersection.
that intersection and some of the roads, but I mean, they don't get any more than a few
So
miles out
you're
of
talking
town.
altogether different.
So they're 100% patrol
Yeah.
In those
in
2.
those communities.
Yeah.
So you move from one extreme to the
Right.
next. And I will say both the sheriffs did an excellent job. And we kind of set it up that I was going to close, because that way I got to take the advantage of giving Doug kudos for his service and his retirement and longevity and all that. So it kind of worked out well. One of the other things they talked about, one of the sessions was safe at home for the Secretary of State, Pate. This is where people that are abuse victims or sexual victims, where they can go out and they go on this through Secretary of State's, they will give them a total different address, and they can live wherever they want yet, but then at least they have to move, they start over new, but they get a total different address, and that address is in Des Moines. Their mail then is from Des Moines to wherever they're living, to give them identity. And that's a program that they've got on. It was quite interesting on that. So, and I think Dean covered the rest all pretty well. But I thought it was a very good session this time, so. Okay, and this week I've got Yes Center at this point.
Thanks, Gene.
Okay, on Tuesday, had a solid waste landfill board meeting. Mary gave us an update on the leachate program, where we're gonna be putting in the new line. We're gonna be working with the city of Carroll to put in a 10-inch line, and then along the paved road there for the city, it'll be a city sewer line, and then we're gonna tie into it with our line. We're in the process of weighing it out with DNR, whether we can put in a double-walled pipe or a single-wall pipe. We're gonna weigh that out. We're also gonna hook up the septic system from the landfill. We're having problems with our leachate bed right now, so we're gonna hook into the city sewer system when we do this. So in the process, putting that all together. Mary gave us an update on the environmental management system, so we're working with DNR. Basically what this applies to is we have to reduce our waste by 25% each year. If you don't meet that, currently we're at $210 per ton that we pay DNR every year, and if we don't meet that criteria, it goes to $330 a ton. So we're working on putting that program together. Our new 973 trash compactor, we got that in last week. We traded our old 963 and the one we had rebuilt that we continually had problems with. So that was that meeting. And then on Wednesday morning, Dave and I went out on a kind of a road tour, looked at some issues on Drain 77, a couple drainage issues down by over in the Glidden and Coon Rapids area, and some road issues. And then on Wednesday afternoon, went down for the executive meeting at ISAC. And Gene and I sat in on that. We kind of discussed the water quality issue. Gene pretty much covered that. We also talked about putting things together for the fall school and putting some topics together there. And it's going to be moved to the embassy this fall. So we talked about that. Then on Thursday, I went to the ISAC meeting, and Gene and Dean covered most of the other ones. I went to, one of them is a motivational speaker from South Dakota State University, and he was basically a fundraiser for SDSU, and he worked with a gal from Chicago and got a lot of scholarships funded for that. Then he also talked about appreciation for employees and how they deserve dignity and respect. He talked a little bit about Aaron Martinson. He was an employee at Walmart in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And this guy, he went the extra mile. He would go around the counter after he helped somebody out at the cash register, got up, went around the other side, shook their hand and thanked them for their business. And that was his spiel, is basically thanking people for what they do. So that was pretty much my week there. And this week I've got Doug's retirement party today. I'm going to talk with Steve Michelson. Dave and I are going to try and meet with him this week about the road issue down on the Dedham Railroad overpass. And then Thursday is Region 12. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Marty. Okay. What do you have? Okay.
Yeah, that's all I have.
We received this week, and basically it's from MHF Engineering. It's just the final approval of the what we're doing with Greene County on the drain there. And that should probably be on file with our drainage district information. Did you get a copy of this? You got that, so you have it on file there. Okay, so we just got that for our information. It's where Leroy and Sons got that bid for that. The case management meeting for Monday was canceled. On Tuesday, as Gene mentioned, I also attended this Chamber of Commerce thing with Janet 80. And just Gene pointed out some of the most important things, just a couple other things that I would like to also relate. When they were going through their recommendations, first of all, they said that they recommend that they do not have direct competitors to the large employers that we're already, they don't want to recruit any business that would directly compete with some of our current large employers. That would be counterproductive, I guess. And a couple other talking points, in addition to the ones Gene mentioned, is our cost to recruit people and businesses here. Is our cost of living is less. Our transportation infrastructure, because we're pretty close to I-80 and I-35, and if you're shipping things out, your central United States. And then the quality of life, we're ranked number 9 out of all 50 states on the CNBC quality of life, and crime rates are very low here too, and several other things, but those are just some of the major things in addition to what Gene had mentioned there. And then I guess I mentioned this already, I got the Sigabart report, and the only thing I want to mention about that is the part concerning our regional property tax equalization bill, and it seems to be moving forward, and I think I agree with Gene, we need to contact our Farm Bureau. The one thing that this pointed out that was very important is Farm Bureau doesn't want anything that will increase property taxes. That's always one of their goals, but they need to realize that the increase in some of these bigger counties is due to their population increase since 1995. So there's also some counties who've had a decrease in population, so that is more of a shift than an increase, even though it will increase on some counties. Okay, and then coming up this week, of course, we have the Bass reception thing today, and they're going to be serving a lunch from 11 on, so I don't know how that'll work with our road tour. Also, tomorrow, don't we have the lettings for the Ely culvert and the Kennebec, I'll call it, those 2 culverts, those are letting, that's all done at the DOT, I believe. Okay. I've got a coalition meeting and local planning meeting on Wednesday, and this Saturday we have another legislative forum at the Breed Shelter House. Okay. Mark.
I'll be brief, just a couple of them. On Monday, I attended the city had a public hearing for the 3rd Street construction scheduled for later on this summer. The final engineering is about ready to be done, and they will have bid letting hopefully in April or May. And they expect construction to begin somewhere this summer, probably July, August, with the anticipated goal of it being completed by the end of the season. All of the work, this is pretty much a total 3rd Street project. It pretty much starts all the way at Juergens, stops here at about Main, picks back up at Court, and then runs all the way behind the city garage, and then the new outlet will go out over by Subway. And all of the work is going to be done on the south side of 3rd Street. So it's not going to impede our driveway at all, but part of that 3rd Street's going to be closed at times. Now, they're obviously going to work with all of the businesses and residents along that way. They're very keenly aware we have an ambulance service there that needs to have availability to it. But we also have 2 alternate ways out. We can go through Midwest Wholesale, or we can go out immediately behind the building and go out behind Dave Frank's. And Pat's going to talk with the guys at Midwest Wholesale, just let them know that, we'll try and be good neighbors throughout the project. But they really thought that it would be very limited on how often that street had to be closed. But they're talking a 48-inch pipe, so they're going to get into the street quite a little bit. And then they're going to follow it back up in fiscal year 18 with an overlay on 3rd Street to go beyond that. But they just made it very clear that there will not be continuous access throughout the whole project. Go ahead.
Did they step this up a year, because weren't they going to do this in 2017?
It's fiscal year 17, so it's going to start.
Oh, it'd be
July 1st.
it'll be fiscal year
You
17.
got it.
Got it.
You got it, yep. So, and then another thing is I asked about perhaps installing a inlet there at the end of that alley that runs between us and John's building, because that's where we have such a rush of water, and they said they were going to look into that. So I'll follow up with Randy in another week or so to see if there's going to be any consideration for that, because that's actually for us more of a problem than actually 3rd Street is. So the only thing is, though, is Pat's been wanting to have a new apron on that driveway. Ours is ugly. It's not dangerous necessarily, but it's just kind of ugly and cracked up. But that won't be replaced. So if we have any interest in doing so, we might be interested in doing it in fiscal year 19 once that overlay goes through. So you'd have to put it up a whole nother year. I won't be here, but just be under consideration for that. So any questions on 3rd Street? And then on Tuesday, we had the ambulance board meeting, and Bridge to collections was back up again a little bit. We're going to turn over about $11,948 to the bridge and collections. Under the director's report, Pat indicated that they were still about a month and a half behind on billing, and they said that's due to changes in Medicaid. But so behind, this is something, again, that continues to be a concern of mine. Through 58% of the year, we are only at about 54% of revenue, and yet we're at 61% of expenditures. So we'll need to continue to keep an eye on that. And then he did mention that some of the expenditures were due to overtime, and also that some vehicle repairs were up. He gave the board a little bit of an update on the grievance process, trying to find some amends to that, and then, of course, updated the board on the 3rd Street project as well. That was my week last week. Upcoming, we have a Bass retirement today. We've got the coalition on Wednesday. Then we have legislative forum in Breda on Saturday.
Just to follow up, I made a point when I was down in Des Moines to talk to a lot of different counties about the ambulance service, and I have
More
some very,
information.
very good notes
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
Ones that had private services.
Not so much private services, some operate like we do. I asked them how they do their billing, and,
Okay.
you know, they have different options, so.
I'm going to pass this around. It's a person who's on our Planning and Zoning Commission who would like to step down for the remainder of the year, so we'll take some action on that later, but I think I'll just pass it around for you to look at. And the other thing, we got the monthly balance, and 2 things that stood out to me is our insurance account is looking pretty darn good, and also the local option sales tax account is looking good, which plays well for our option of maybe shifting local option sales tax as replacement for our per capita mental health. So that option is still on the table, and it'll need a lot of further discussion. Okay. Dave, you're on the agenda.
Good morning. Good morning, Dave.
How's it going, Dave?
You're real good. Got 2 drains. First one's drain 31, section 25 of Glidden Township. Reggie Rohrbeck called it in. It's right next to Highway 30 and Zephyr Avenue. I think there are 3 holes on that, and 2 of them are in state right-of-way, and 1 is in our right-of-way. It's right-of-way of Zephyr Avenue, or Old 30, where it comes up to New 30. Where your thumb is. The next drain, I have Steve Daniels called in to report a hole in county drain, section 27 of Sheridan, and it looks like drain 33 is where the hole is. There's a green circle where that is.
What drain was that again?
26.
33.
33, sorry.
33.
Section 26.
There you go.
Let me see the bill.
We don't want it.
Okay. Fix this one.
Dave, did you talk to Al about that one we looked at down in Union?
I did.
Okay.
I should bring that one up, though, Marty. I made a work order on that for him.
Do you want to do that one while we're at it, or wait?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just going to affect the number of that one.
Put that in the file.
That'd be drain,
Is that section 7, wasn't it?
yeah, it'd be drain 67.
Train 67?
Yep,
Section 7 Union.
yep.
I think there's a 30-inch tile going through there. I had no idea.
I didn't know that was that big.
Yeah, really surprised me.
What was the 3rd one, guy?
Drain 67, it's down in Union Township, section 7.
Is it a hole also?
Yeah. We've had problems with that one before.
Can you drop Prius in it?
No, not quite that big. You can probably stand.
If there's no other objections or questions, I make a motion to approve repairs on all 3 drains.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize repairs on the 3 drains. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, so we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, Dave?
I'm ready to go. I got some other late developing things, but we might just go deal with them next week.
Okay.
Gravel contract with Stratford for the cruise pit, which is up north, and some bridge inspections and some ratings by HGM that we're forced into doing.
Okay, all right. Well, Courtney, what do we have, do you have anything for us, particularly our next week agenda? We have quite a few things, actually.
Probably, probably 5 to 10 minutes before the board meeting, Chris Polking's going to come out and give Ken Pingree the oath. Doug will be here for that. He's going to pin him, is what he called it, in his badge on him. So that'll be right before the meeting gets started. And then at 9 a.m., first thing on the agenda would be the assessor's fiscal 17 budget. Neil, did you explain to them why we have to do that again?
Okay, did I explain that already? Okay, it was just a timing thing.
Yeah, the date it was published was incorrect.
Yes.
Then we have our first reading for that ordinance 40. Sounds like Dave will have a few things too on the agenda. At 10, the state inspector's coming about the jail.
Jail.
And we have DHS wants to come over and talk about their security system in that building. And conservation has an easement under the trail for rural water.
Okay.
So that's what I have so far.
All right. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would like, so this doesn't get dropped, I think if you would line up maybe 2 of us supervisors, meet with some people from the Farm Bureau in regard to that mental health thing.
Oh,
I think we want to not let that.
with our county farm bureau, you mean?
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
And
I would be glad to do that.
and if I would be glad
Okay.
to sit with you, but
Gene, would you like to do it with me? Is that okay, the rest of the
Yeah,
board? I would like
that's
to do it
fine.
because I'm on the Rolling Hills board.
Yeah, and my point is, I don't want this to drop, and then I think we need to do this, be proactive on this and get them on our side of the
Yeah,
page.
I think that's a good point.
Okay, very good, Gene. You and I talked about that. One of us will
Yeah,
contact
if you want to just
him.
line up something, that's fine.
Pardon me?
If you want to line it up,
Okay,
that's fine.
I'll
Thanks for doing that,
contact
you
him.
two.
Well, I just think we have to plead our case.
Okay, any comments from those in attendance?
A couple quick things, hopefully it wasn't a distraction coming in and out, kind of a crazy morning for us. So just to double check I got this right so I can tell Jeff, Ken will be actually sworn in before next Monday's meeting. I'm sure
Yes.
that's a lot of people don't want.
Yep.
Yes.
And then he'll be he won't be acting, he'll be
Sheriff.
sheriff until the November election.
Right.
No,
Just wanted to make sure that that was,
it will be till the end of the term, right? Because there's nobody applying for a temporary term right now.
There has been nobody that's filed paperwork requesting a special election, but they still have some time to do that.
right, and I know there's gonna be a challenger, so.
It might be 14 days from today, or 14 days from Wednesday. I would have to look at my
Well, I know
notes.
there'll be a challenger on the Democratic side.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and there will be.
But he will
Since
fill
this
out the
is-
term.
This term is gonna be on the ballot anyway, but since it's an appointment, after the November election, the sheriff would actually take office the day of the canvass.
Okay.
So it'll be the Monday after the election.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
since it's an appointment.
Whenever there's an appointment, the election is the turning point, the day of the election or the canvass. With election to replace an appointment. For the regular one, like all of us here, like
Okay.
Mark, he goes to the end of the year.
January 1.
So what day's the election? The following Monday would be the turning point there.
Okay.
When it gets canvassed, becomes official.
And obviously nobody's required to answer this if they want, but does anybody have anything to say about the idea that having the board appoint a sheriff gives him an advantage because he's already, as opposed to a special election when it comes to the actual normal election?
That's not an option we have. The person in the position decides whether or not to finish their full term. And so that's the sheriff's decision. He decided to retire now instead of at the end of his term. So We have no say in that other than,
Right, but you did have an option to have a special.
yeah,
we took
quite
his
expensive.
recommendation.
That was our,
Right,
that was our
I
choice.
understand why you didn't do it.
Our choice was either have an expensive election or do an appointment. We took the appointment option, fully knowing that the public could petition if they felt differently.
Sure, right.
I got a question in return. Is there a perceived advantage?
I've just
Or is there a
heard-
real advantage?
I don't know if there's anything statistically proven in past cases. I just know I've heard a few people from the community mention that, well, it's kind of an advantage if he's endorsed by the board because they appointed him.
My
You know what I mean?
comment to that, it would be when someone is appointed like that, if they do a very good job, it's their advantage. If they do not do a good job, it's their
Right.
disadvantage. So it's in that person's ball court.
Sure.
There's still election in November.
Yes, there is.
It's highly subjective.
We took Doug's recommendation, is basically what we did.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, real good. Any other questions, Matt?
Nope, good meeting.
All right, very good.
Move we adjourn to the road tour.
To the road tour.
Yeah.
Second.
Been moved second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.